Hey, Grant Napier and Sean Salisbury here on No Filter Network, man. Do we have a lot to talk about today or what? How you doing, buddy?
You think I'm doing great, man. It's good to be with you. Of course, just between you and I'm in my final week of the semester in my master's degree, so I'm of this semester. So
Really?
busy week to finish this semester and try to keep my straight A's going and finish a paper and do all that stuff and take a couple tests by between now and Friday. But I'm good, man.
Congratulations on that. What made you decide to do this?
Full scholarship for it, but I promised my mom and dad, neither one of which are alive. I lost my mom this summer, my dad.
Yes.
On graduation day at USC, because in school I did well in school, but I put it this way: playing sports and having too much fun, even though you got your degree and was able to do well in school, I wanted more out of it. You know what I'm saying? I think you all do, and you say, man, I should have done better on that class. And you always revisit 15 years later and say, man, I could have put a little more and I had a little too much fun, right? But the truth is I just promised my mom and dad on that day, I said, I'm going to further education at some point. I don't know when, but I'm going to get a master's degree and quite possibly a doctorate. My mom and dad said, okay, I come from a blue collar family. My dad, plasterer by trade in the construction business. My mom, a hotel and cake decorator, extremely gifted. And started when my dad and her first met as a hairdresser. So I come from blue collar love, a lot of good food and love, but not a lot of money. And so it was never, my mom skipped 2 grades from 2 grades when she was growing up. So she graduated from high school when she was 15. So wow. I might have got a little bit of her brains, maybe not much of them, but I got her mouth too. And so I always said that I would further the education for that. And
that's great.
I told him that day, and here I am, graduated in 1986, and here I am now, and I decided a little over a year ago that it was time, and applied and got a scholarship, and I'm halfway through it, and we'll finish next, because I'll overload it in the spring and the fall and the summer, and I'll finish next fall. And I have no idea what I'm going to do with it, Grant. I don't, but I'll be honest with you. It'll probably make me, because I made a promise. I like to keep promises I make, but I wish they'd have been alive to see me get that. But for me, it is, I guess, a sense of pride. And while I'm prideful about being a good dad, and I don't know if this is going to be on a plaque and sit in an office like this, but I'll be proud of it because I know at this time I don't. You've had a master's degree in life, right? Yeah. I don't know, a simple piece of paper, I guess, just for accomplishment, for no other reason, and maybe to set an example for my kids or somebody else who's thinking I'm too old to do it, because most of the people in there and guys and gals are in their 20s, and they just graduated from school. So yeah, I'm proud of it, man. But it's work, but it's worth it. They got all the technical stuff down. I got all the life skills down. So we're trying to combat.
I'm proud of you, man. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Best of luck on that. Hey, before we get into the weekend, I wanted to read something to you because I received this message yesterday and it really touched me, and I know it's going to do the same for you. Hey, Grant, yesterday I went to that Walmart store here in Sacramento on Stockton and Florin Road with my mom to pick up some groceries. After we were done, on my way back home, I pulled into a Shell gas station to gas up the car. While I was on one of the pumps, I looked over and saw a homeless black guy digging through garbage cans and actually eating an open bag of potato chips that had been thrown away right out of the garbage can. So I walked over to him. I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, "Would you like me to buy you something to eat?" And he shook his head yes. So we walked inside the Shell gas station store while the gas nozzle was still in my car, and I bought him a turkey sandwich, some fresh potato chips, and a soda. After that, he gave me the biggest smile, and he hugged me tightly for a whole minute and said, "Thank you." I said, "You're so welcome." I gave him my number, and I walked back to the car feeling the best I have felt in over a decade. I'm going through severe depression. I'm going through many hard trials, but at the one moment, helping that man gave me a feeling like everything in my life is going to be okay. I just wanted to tell you thank you, because I was thinking about that No Filter episode with you and Sean Salisbury that you put on podcast while I was helping that man eating out of the garbage can. I gave him my number. I have no idea how I'm going to help this man because I have a low income job and I haven't heard from him yet. But if he does end up calling me, I'm going to help him further in some way. Thank you, Grant, for all you do. Thank you for encouraging us to show love and help others, even when we are going through a bad time. Gotta love that, Sean.
Great story. And listen, that guy will never forget it. Neither one of them will. And even if the guy doesn't call, you made an impact. And that's a great story. Warms my heart. And for that minute, for the depression that our message is going through, and he says, I don't have any idea how I'm going to get out of it, but you will. And you'll remember that, because it's easy to help somebody when life's going good. It's when life's going maybe not favorable for you to reach out. And I felt, Grant, I'll just make it simple, when I immersed myself into others, when I was going through a depressed time and rock bottom, it was the best I'd felt as well. And it helped me get out. It wasn't extra money that helped me get out. It wasn't how much I could give. It was just kind of being there for somebody at the right time. And that guy will never forget it. And, you hope you pay it forward and you don't miss those opportunities, because you regret them if you miss them more than you do if you gave away a couple extra bucks or bought a sandwich. And good for him. And I'm glad that he sent you that message. That's great news. And he made that guy. And sometimes you don't want to let go of that hug, because you may never see the guy again. But that's pretty. And I know that guy probably both of them may think it's temporary, but it really is long lasting. It'll last forever. He'll never forget it. So good for him. Thank you for sharing.
Well, great way to start off the show. All right, let's transition back to Saturday. If you had told me that Alabama would win that game and have 41 points on the board, I would have said there's just no chance of that. Once again, Nick Saban and the coaching staff find a way to just get it done. Kirby Smart just can't beat Alabama. Offensive line, I also thought that Brian Robinson, from his running back position, staying in the pass block a lot and picking up blitzes was real key. It gave Young plenty of time to throw the ball. But that offensive line play surprised me the most. What surprised you the most about Alabama?
Two things. I knew Bryce Young, was not more than capable, and he solidified it, proved that he's the best player in the country this year. Two things for me was, you hit one of them, offensive line protection. After what I'd seen a few weeks before, they looked average. They looked overwhelmed at times. And with that great quarterback who can bail them out, when you got both working, you become the number one seed in the country and the number one seed in the playoff. I was impressed with their schemes up front, with the way backs chipped and blocked and helped. They looked like it was, if we lose this game, it isn't going to be because we got out physical. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then it was Bill O'Brien, Grant. I'm going to tell you why. In this town, Houston, and a lot of it self-inflicted, has taken a lot of verbal abuse about how he called plays and what he did to the Texans franchise. And a lot of it he deserves. You do. But, I'm not a grudge holder. So while that happened, he moves on and tries to revitalize his career. And he's always approached, at least here, was play sometimes not to lose, at times a little too conservative, And I even posted on Twitter last week. I said, I'm going to find out what kind of balls he has. And Bill's a good man and a good dad. But, sometimes you question what he's going to be like in that situation. Nick Saban, who comes from a defensive background, yet the last couple of years we've seen that offense explode. I wanted to see, in a moment when you're playing against a team like Georgia, who lives with physical and turnovers and wearing you out, would you play into the keep it close, low scoring, and hopefully we can win with our quarterback who's better than theirs in the end? And I get it. But I didn't believe you could beat Georgia that way, because I said, I told you too, I said, if it's in the teens or the low 20s, Georgia's winning. Right. So if this thing gets above 30, Alabama's winning this game. And Bill O'Brien came right out after being down 10-0. Instead of playing scared, attacked. And he kept attacking. He put the ball in the best player in the country's hand. The offensive line responded. I thought Bill O'Brien called his best game I've seen in years, in pro or college. And he's going to need to do it again a couple times, but it was phenomenal, because it just proved in that game that an offensive line playing a great quarterback and a play caller with guts still, and I hate to say this, no knock against defense, but it proves to you that if you're a great quarterback who's got time, you'll beat a good defense. And that was a good defense all year, but that's the best player they faced. And O'Brien's ability to go attack and beat them at their own game on the defensive side, I thought was impressive. And they score that, they're going to be a very tough out, man, meaning Alabama, because now they're feeling it, and now they're going to give Saban 3 weeks to prepare. Good luck. Good luck.
You know what's interesting? Leading up to this game, the vast majority of people weren't really giving Alabama a chance. And Nick Saban referred to that in the postgame. If these two teams should meet again for the national championship. The role's going to be reversed. There aren't going to be a lot of people that are going to give Georgia a chance to beat Alabama. So this could be a very interesting dynamic when you look ahead. The roles could be exactly reversed.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And, whether he calls it rat poison, Nick has something. It's like all the great ones, Grant. We've been around them, from Larry Bird and Michael Jordan to Kobe Bryant to Tom Brady to Aaron Rodgers. We see and coaches, the Belichick, yep. They're great scorekeepers, and they don't forget. And the great thing about it is a lot of people use it to their disadvantage. They're so caught up in what other people are saying that they can't focus on their gig, right? Saban's the other. Oh, okay, keep talking, because we're not beating people by 50 every week. We're still winning, and he gets pissed, and he's right. I can imagine why they feel disrespected, because I said 6.5 was too much on my show last week, I thought. Right. But I got everybody else said, you're out of your mind. Gamblers, you go and read all the gambling experts on they're going to boat race them. I'm like, okay. Then you start to buy in. Like I did. You start to say, okay, maybe I'm out of a dumbass. And then all of a sudden Saban does it, but you're right. And he used the proper motivation. They got ready because this is Alabama. And then the next time now they're going to come back and say, well, now you're the favorite, because that's the 6th time since Saban's been a coach, or since 2008 or 9. Since he's been a coach, he's been a dog like that. He's won 5 of them, and the point differential, Grant, is over 200 to like 80-something. I mean, it is overwhelming what they've done to other teams as dogs. So they feed off it, and now they're not going to be an underdog the whole time. And I'm not sure 13.5 is enough on Cincinnati, as much as I respect them. I'm not sure. So, yeah, if they get him again, or Michigan, people, they're going to say, well, Alabama's the heavy favorite, and the quarterback has something to do with it. But I can tell you this, Nick will go in and somehow find a way to look at his team and say, remember how they felt about your ass 3 weeks ago, that you were just kind of skating by and there's a chance that you could be left out of the playoff? Don't buy into them kissing your ass, basically now. That's what he'll say. He'll find a way to have them pissed on the field. You know that, whether they win or not, but he'll find a way.
What's an interesting matchup? Let's talk about Cincinnati. I have not watched them nearly as much as you, so I'll put that out there. But the one thing, when you talk about Cincinnati, their cornerbacks are top shelf, all right? That's going to be a very interesting matchup. Now, Mechke's out for Alabama, torn ACL, but the cornerbacks of Cincinnati matching up with speed and what else Alabama loves to do. How do you think that matchup's going to go?
Well, the thing, I know what Sark would have done, and he's done it. First of all, when you got all those weapons, you can't double them all. You know what I mean, Grant? And with Mechke being out, this will be about the time. Remember back when Tua came off the bench for Jalen Hurts and threw that whole shot for a touchdown? You know who the receiver as a freshman was? Devontae Smith. Remember when he came? It was a freshman. We were talking about everybody else. Oh, there's that guy.
Right.
Somehow, some way, somebody will rear their head in place of Mechke, and there's some 4 or 5-star sitting on a bench right now that can't break in the lineup, that now is going to get 3 weeks of preparation to actually do it. So they'll find somebody, but I'm anxious to see how Bill O'Brien deploys that against good corners, a very good coach in Luke Fickell who understands defense. And so if I'm O'Brien, I'm just looking at right now on the surface of watching them play. And I've seen Cincinnati about 8 times this year, Grant, and how you would attack that. My initial thought is multiple formations and motions to try and create where they can't get. Hey, my dogs are fine. Hey, come here. My little dog's fighting my 80-pounder. No, hey, get away from me. Come here. Sorry, Grant. Get over here.
Hey, I love it, man. Hey, I love it.
I got a 10-pounder that's battling an 82-pounder, and she's backing him off. Hey,
no kidding, man. I love it. Hey, good for you. Good for you.
My American bully just stares at her, and she's like ready to fight him. I understand. She's Nick Saban right now. They're mad and underdog. So anyway,
what's that dog's name?
This is a Maltese and Shih Tzu named Patron, and my 80-pound American bully, 11 months old, looks like, he's jacked up. I go out the other day, Grant, I'm outside getting ready for Saturday football. He comes jumping up all 4s and lands on the top of my barbecue grill on the top of the island. 4 feet and lands all 4s at 82 pounds. He is 11 months. He got mad hops. He's up there walking, and then he turns on the beer tap with his nose and starts licking some. I'm like, come on, man, it's too early for that. So, yeah, and he's a good, gentle boy, but you see him stare you down. He's got those eyes with that big-ass head, And she's like, I'll fight him anytime. So there you go. So welcome to live streaming radio / computer. So anyway, I would create formational mismatches, Grant, with a lot of window dressing. So I wouldn't let the corners get comfortable. So if you move somebody into the slot, I would have to find out throughout, are they going to play man or zone? You know, so by motioning and seeing if they stay. And he'll come up with a plan, but you got to be aggressive and it'll be incumbent upon Bryce Young to find the guy who's singled throughout. So you can create it. We saw Sark create incredible mismatches last year, right, in the national title game. And I'm anxious to see how creative Bill O'Brien will get. But I don't know how Cincinnati keeps up, but I got a lot of respect for them, Grant. I really do. I got a ton of respect for them. I don't know if they're one of the 4 best teams in the country. I know through what they've done, they deserve to be there. Yeah. They do. Now we'll find out. They go keep it close. Everybody's going to say, damn, okay, maybe we should have waited on Luke Fickell or whatever they do. But I think that you'll see the key when you play a team like that, you better have 3 or 4 guys that can cover because those guys will find them. And it isn't exactly like you got some hack playing quarterback. He's not half bad. But Ritter can create some problems for a defense too because Alabama's defense, although it played really good against Georgia, we'll see if they can sustain it throughout too. And Ritter can become a problem for you on the edge with his feet and his arm.
They may need some carts, extra carts at the Georgia-Michigan game, boy. Because let me tell you something: you like defense, you like hitting. Oh boy, don't miss that game. I mean, listen, they may not have a lot of guys standing after that fucking game. I'll tell you that right now.
Hey, listen, I don't want anybody hurt, but you know that tent they go under on the sidelines that you're talking about, the tent they go under and make sure nobody's hamstring. I don't want anybody to stand there long. But it's going to be like they're going to have like 15 of them on each sideline because guys are going to be going in on a regular basis. Got punched in the face, had to come back out. I mean, you want to talk about physical friggin' fist fight. And I'm not real sure who's coming out of it. You know what I'm saying? Last man standing type of thing. A little bit of, it's kind of like Yellowstone. I don't know who's coming out of the damn thing, but that'll be, we talked about last week. I've been begging for this old school football beatdown, you know, who's going to make 1 or 2 plays because physically they're going to stand toe to toe. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, let's move to last night's game. You want to talk about coaching? You want to talk about a game plan? Only 3 passes. I mean, you can watch football all your life and you just don't ever see that. That was remarkable what we watched last night in Buffalo, wasn't it?
I thought it was I opened my show talking about because the Texans, let this be a lesson for coaches. Belichick didn't put in one game plan for this game. I can promise you that. There was a game plan in case with Josh McDaniels. What if it's 40 and not windy instead of 50-mile-an-hour gusts? And that's miserable going into the wind or going with it because the wind gets underneath it. There's no comfortability in it. Buffalo Bills were out-coached. And it's hard to say you were out-coached and you threw it how many times? 3? I'll tell you why. Went in there and knew. And Grant, I've been on teams where somebody's finessed us. And you're like, it's like a heavyweight fight where the guys are dancing around and some guy throws a punch and hits it and lands it, knocks the guy out. And you think, well, he knocked me. The next day you wake up, you're thinking, when you get out of bed, you're like, how did he win the championship? I'm better than him. He didn't hit it. He got lucky. So you want more of it. What they did last night is 9 and 10 and 8 in the box loaded up and said, we're running right there. We're not throwing, and we're still kicking your ass in your building in front of your wife, your kids, if you're not married, in front of your girlfriends. And when you go to that wing bar afterwards to get your wings and cold beer, you're going to be talking about it. When you wake up tomorrow, you're going to have about 47 rib shots. And that's when they yank your soul out of you, man. Grant, I've been on those teams where we normally physically can dominate. Oh, hell breaking loose. Physically can dominate. And then you think we got them. And then all of a sudden, that happened to us in a playoff game against Redskins. We were at home, and they beat us down on both sides of the ball so badly that it wore us out, and we were really good. We had Hall of Famers all over. But the Buffalo Bills will wake up today, and they give up 1 touchdown, a 2-point conversion, a couple field goals. But imagine going into a game where I'm telling you I'm going to punch you right smack dab in the face a whole bunch of times, and there's 5 dudes in front of you and I still land that blow, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it, right?
Yep.
And that's like that's when you start to look around and say, "Ooh, we're the Buffalo Bills." That's a soul searching game last night, and it was brilliant because Bill said, "This is what we're going to do," and Josh went with it, and they beat you throwing the ball 3 times. They've already proven they can throw it. So I think today with the Chiefs charging, that I've told you this, if they go and get out of there, they're the best team in the AFC, and they don't beat themselves. They're smart.
Yep.
And that's why Belichick plays. So good luck trying to, if you're going to beat them, you're going to have to beat them.
I thought Buffalo would be the number 1 seed coming out of the conference. They may not even make the playoffs now. They have to go to Tampa, and then in 2 weeks they're at New England. They could find themselves not even in the show.
Can you imagine? I'm with you. I have them playing Tampa in the Super Bowl,
right,
and them being the home field advantage all throughout the AFC. Now they're scrambling around and probably questioning, how are we here? Right. And it's not getting much easier the next couple of weeks for them. So you're right. From a team that was supposed to be challenging for February, may not be playing in January.
What's their problem? What do you see is wrong with them? What do you see as their issues?
Well, I would have liked to see Josh Allen. I would like a little more design. Here's like a 10 talent. I'm a huge Brian Daboll fan, the coordinator. I didn't think they game planned it very well last night, even though it was a close game. I would like to see Josh Allen's so gifted with his arm, but his feet are so gifted. When they're at their best, he's doing both. I don't want him to run it like Cam or Lamar where he's getting beat up all the time, right? But I'd like to mix it in. I'm trying to figure out what their identity is now. And the defense, how do you blame them? I don't know if they believe physically at the line of scrimmage running it and stuff. I think they believe finesse-wise that they're at the point now where they got to finesse you to death. And I know Daboll and I know Sean McDermott do not want to play that way. They do not. But you got to get to the point where it's not even just being great at running it. You've got to commit to it at times. And we've said it on here, Grant, you have too. As we push towards January, that's the type of team that can limit possessions for superstars, and that's what they're going to face. So I don't think it's one thing. I think it's something in every game, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And right now, if Josh Allen doesn't play great football, how are they putting teams away, Grant? And the thing is, they're not. You figure you go into a game no matter what the weather, you give up 14 points with our quarterback and this staff and the people we're going to win. Their physicality is going to have to come into play. I would have never imagined I'd be talking about Buffalo like this season, as good as they are.
All right, put me in the shoes of Derek Carr. Bad loss, 15 points against Washington. Clearly, that offense has not been the same since the Henry Ruggs tragedy, where a 23-year-old lady lost her life, and Ruggs is going to be in prison for a long time, it looks like. The Raiders' offense just really has not looked the same. I know you can look at Dallas, but I'm looking at the 2 games preceding that, and then I'm looking at what I saw on Sunday. I watched Derek Carr. I watch him missing throws. I watch him missing Renfro for a touchdown. I watch him missing a wide open Deshaun Jackson running unguarded across the middle of the field. Probably would have been a touchdown. What do you see when you watch Derek Carr? Because he's so damn Jekyll and Hyde, Sean.
There's a reason, Grant. Let me ask you this. And we've talked. You like Carr, and so do I.
Yep.
The problem is, do you like him or do you love him? Do you like him and you know why you don't love him? Because you just named it right after a really good movie. You Jekyll and Hyde him, and that's who he is.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying it's him. We always go to quarterback and coach first, and we should. That's their accountability. And you hit it also when you were describing it. You can't miss. It's one thing to make difficult throws at this level. When you're a 70% completion guy normally, you cannot miss simple throws,
yes,
open throws. And we always talk about the adversity and pressure. I'm talking about on any team. When we break down tape, guys always want to talk about, we all do, lean towards the difficult. We don't very often hit on the simple.
Yep.
The miss. I listened to David Culley, and you'll get an idea about leadership and how I feel about taking a team. David Culley, the coach of the Texans, is talking about Davis Mills coming in, who completed less than 50%. Their offense had 57 yards passing. He wasn't good, and they weren't. But he's coming off the bench as a rookie. And he said, I thought Davis Mills played good, except he missed some 2 or 3 run checks. Now, what I can control is mental. Listen, Grant, I can come off, I can go make run checks right now at my age. Give me a week, and I'll know where to run the football. Does that make sense? Yes. Even if you're not getting snaps, because that's your job as a backup to mentally stay ready for. I may not physically be able to, I may miss some throws, but at least I know where I'm throwing it. I understand coverage. And in the run game, you can't miss checks. Just like the right guard or the receiver can't jump off sides when they're looking at the football, right? And so we're all caught up in all the difficult stuff. And when I coach my quarterbacks, I beat into the ground. Make me simple plays, man.
Yep.
If you'll make the simple plays, the difficult one once in a while will come.
Excellent. If
you miss the simple plays, listen, when we go through games most of the time, let's see a good baseball game. Are they normally going to hit 9 home runs in a game, or give you 9 singles? Singles and then 2 or 3 home runs, and then strike out 8, 9 times as a team. Brady does not miss singles. Drew Brees never missed hitting singles.
That's
Peyton Manning hit singles.
That's right.
Now, I can tell you a bunch of guys that hit home runs once in a while and made the difficult play, but had no idea how to consistently make the simple, easy play. And part of that is at the line of scrimmage, like I mentioned, Davis Mills. You can't run a toss sweep into a 4-side week when we got 3 guys blocking them. Those are the things that even if you don't get reps, that's your job. And Derek Carr, who I like, and I'm a diehard Raider fan, Grant, you hit it. You said it in both of them without us even scripting this. Jekyll and Hyde, but this is their MO. How many years you said this in a row? Is this not Groundhog Day?
Every year. Hey, Sean, here's the bottom line. Sean, I don't judge quarterbacks by the plays they make. I judge quarterbacks by the plays they don't make that they should.
Bingo.
And that to me is Derek Carr.
That goes right to the simple stuff. Can you hit a slant? When a guy's got a free runner and he's wide open, just get him the football. Some of us mere mortals can't do it. Some of those guys that are great can. But if you spent your whole life making the simple plays, you'd probably end up in the Pro Bowl 8 times, honest to God. And then the special stuff comes when you can throw it sidearm and step out of it, all those things. But that's not where you live. You don't live there. Where you live is 0 to 12 yards, slant routes, hitch routes. When the guy's open, make it. I don't care if you're off. Aaron Rodgers does not miss those. He won't miss those. He won't miss them. He'll make the tight window too, but he will not miss the easy ones. And if he does, he's right back out of it and hits you 12 in a row the next streak. And when Carr's going good, he's going good. But there's the Jekyll and Hyde, and he can't miss simple plays. But this is a conversation, Grant, I swear, since he's been in the league, and he's had some Pro Bowl MVP type runs in each year, is the inability to sustain it consistently all season long. That's the Raiders, and that's Derek Carr, and he's a good player. But I can tell you right now that the elite ones don't miss the simple plays. Everybody can make a big play once in a while. I know it sounds crazy, but the ability and the patience to make the simple plays will sustain you. And I can name plenty of guys who can't do that in the league, and Derek Carr on a consistent basis is one of them.
You know, a guy that you have really spoke very highly of since we started doing this show is Joe Brady, the OC in Carolina, who's no longer there. You every time we talk about quarterbacks in that franchise, you always brought up his name. Are you surprised with what's going on there with him?
I am, and getting fired this quickly. I know coaches like Matt Rule, when they're going, you got to look for something, right? And maybe I don't believe in. Now, this is just me, Grant. I have no insight about this. I don't believe that you wake up one day 10 games into a season or whatever we're at, 11 games in, 12 games in, and just walk down the hall and say, I don't like the X's and O's, because you would have known his regime all the way through. Week 4, if you don't like the rhythm, you'll say, hey, man, let's change this. You communicate with your coordinator, right? Something tells me philosophy-wise, one wanted to run it, one wanted to throw it, and and maybe Joe Brady being young, just kind of thumbed his nose. I'm not saying he did, but I'm trying to read between the lines. And I am a Joe Brady fan. What he did was he had one of the epic seasons you'll ever have in college football. And, you think he's ready to go to the pros, and it looked the first 4 weeks with Darnold. Now, they're not very good, and you are a bit limited but I'm not making excuses for him. You're a bit limited when McCaffrey can't get back on the field, right?
Absolutely.
And then your quarterback up and down. So somebody had to take a little bit of blame. Matt Rule's a little bit of hot seat, and Joe Brady you know what? Like players, Joe Brady has had a bad year, but his team's had a bad year. And if the offense is struggling, what do? Do I think it's a bit premature from a distance? I do. I believe if you gave Joe Brady, if Joe Burrow was in Carolina, Joe Brady'd be getting a pay raise. He didn't forget how to coach.
Sure.
But what happens when you face, and think about this, Grant, he saw Drew Brees when he was an assistant, for Sean Payton, went to LSU, had the 1 year at LSU, and it was as good a year as you'll ever have for a guy who's been there 10 years, let alone one. Goes to Carolina. Everybody loves Joe Brady, has a decent season, but doesn't have a quarterback. Bridgewater played okay, right? And here he is in year 2. And you got 4 different quarterbacks, from Darnold and this guy and this guy and this guy. And it's like, oh, a little adversity. Okay. And the truth is, has he seen much of this movie? No. So if Joe Burrow can make your job pretty easy, but the compliment was perfect. Joe Brady hadn't had a good season. Do I believe Joe Brady forgot how to coach? Absolutely not. But listen, less than 2 years ago, Joe Brady and Ed Orgeron were the hottest head coach coordinator combo in the world.
Yep.
And in less than 2 years, when we hit the middle of January, that'll be 2 years since 2019, one's sitting on Destin Beach with his girlfriend, enjoying his $17 million payout with a championship ring on one finger. The other will always have that epic season. And he's now, during the middle of a season, had the finger pointed at him that the reason the offense isn't any good is because of him. They'll both surface somewhere, and Joe Brady will be fine. The great thing about Joe Brady, he's not 80. Joe Brady's in his 30s. So he can recover from this as long as he understands, and he will. I've had conversations via messaging, never on a phone with him, and just letting him know throughout the time how impressive I was in some of the football talk. And he'll be fine. Listen, this is coming down the pipe. If you haven't been, better now at 30 than to get your first time you're fired at 60, right? So he's going to be fine, but I think that they lost their way a little bit when they lost their identity and their play calling identity, because no McCaffrey, now you're just scrambling around, and they've had a lot of injuries. And I think they also bought into their defense, the hype the first 4 weeks when everybody was going good, and you're on your damn near your fourth quarterback. So that's tough to do.
You talk about hype. I'm really excited for the game coming up this weekend. You got the Rams at Arizona with Kyler Murray back. You saw, again, that Cardinal offense. The deal I look at with the Cardinals, they have a whisker edge right now over Green Bay. But if they end up tied, the Packers would have home field. And I don't like Arizona's chances for going into Lambeau in January and winning. Green Bay's got a very easy schedule the rest of the way. Arizona's got a very difficult schedule. But I'm going to look at the Rams. And I know that you and I have been very high on the Rams. But quite frankly, they've been disappointing. They beat a bad Jacksonville team. This may be the last gasp for the Rams in terms of competing for the division, because Arizona's already beat them once. But I got to tell you, I want to see the Rams go in there and yeah, okay, I want them to win the game. They better stay in the game, all right? Because Arizona's embarrassed teams this year. They were able to go in and beat the Rams in L.A. I still don't have a read on the Rams. I don't know who the hell they are. I don't know if you can have trust in them. Here we are in the middle of December. I look at them and I'm like, shit, I don't know if they could win a playoff game.
I would agree, especially if they got to go on the road somewhere, right? I don't know. I have zero. I mean, I know they got – I've been preaching the obvious and Captain Obvious. They got a lot of skill. They got some players now. And you knew that was the safe – I told you that's the safest bet in the league last week is the Rams beating Jacksonville after 3 straight losses. You knew – I mean, if you want to gamble and want to make money, that was the one to make money on. But they dick around
Monday Night Football
right.
This week.
Grant, they dick around too much for me. And I mean, you know what I'm saying? When I look at them, do you look at them as they're going to close it out and put their foot on your throat every single week? I don't. I know when I look at Tampa, I feel that way. Don't you? When I look at Rodgers, I feel that way.
That's correct.
I just kind of think they let people hang around, and it bothers me. And I don't know if and I love Sean McVay, and I love the skills, but like I said, I got to see more evidence that they are that team that – I want to know, can they win ugly? Maybe that's a better way. Can they win 13-10 against a really like last night? Can they win a game like that, like New England did? Are they gritty, or are they just it's Los Angeles, and when they're kicking your ass, it looks great. When they're in a close one, and I know they beat Tampa early, and everybody they stepped right up in the beginning of the season. But I want to know if they can have grit and win games when Stafford is not playing well, and They just kind of pushed it. That I kind of want to see when that rears its head. I don't think they're winning the division, and I know sure as hell not the best team in the division. Talent, maybe. Arizona's better.
You know what's interesting what you just said? Because 3 years ago, you just described the Rams when they won the NFC, albeit on a horseshit call in New Orleans, but that team had that. And yet when you look at this roster compared to that roster, this roster that Sean McVay has, in my opinion, is much more talented, but there's something missing there. And I think you just described it.
Well, Grant, at this time of year, listen, talent always at least gets you to a certain level, right? Okay, if I just throw teams out at you, do you think the New England Patriots have grit and an extra dose of toughness?
Yes.
I do too. Do you think Tampa Bay, even though the pretty boy quarterback and all the Super Bowls, and it gets right down to it with Bruce Arians, don't you think he calls them? There's a grit there, right? Will that shock you if they win another Super Bowl? There's a handful of those teams. I think the Kansas City Chiefs have it. They were laughed at and joked this year, and people were, throwing stones at their defense. And here we are. And if they're in the AFC Championship game, it won't surprise me one bit because they got the quarterback, the coach, and their defense is playing well. And I think they got a little grit because somebody pushed them to the brink and actually started questioning them, and they responded. Okay, Rams, you responded to Jacksonville. You're supposed to win that one. Win me a game that's 21-21. I'm not even know what the statistics say for the Rams over the last 5 years. Where they weren't in this to win in 2024, Grant, they're in it to win now. And I got to see, you're right, grit with the quarterback who was the first pick but really wasn't playing. He's not a superstar in Jared Goff. Now you got the guy you want, and you got all the LA hype and the rest of it, but are you going to let a team that's not as good as you kind of push you around a little bit and test you? Can they win a late game when it matters, and all the high, and they gotta find a way to scrape it out and play small ball and win it? That's what I'd like to see. And I don't know the answer yet, Grant, because we're still in semi-infancy. But I'll tell you what, Sean McVay better find it because they've got some stuff to do because the NFC's friggin' loaded with some good teams.
I want to get back to college football for a minute. I meant to ask you this last week. The fact that, again, college football is putting their semifinal games on freaking New Year's Eve on a Friday night. I don't understand that. I just do not understand that. I really don't. New Year's Eve for the two semifinal games and on a Friday night. It doesn't make sense to me.
Grant, why wouldn't we? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know they don't want to compete with but do we really think that if they did it on January 1st, let me just ask you that for the semis.
Yep.
I think more people watch on January 1st because they're home after just
no question.
Move timing around this Cotton Bowl or what, all those games, and make their games back to back, one at 4:30 and one at 7:30, and let's go play. We're all into January 1 bowl games. We've been used to that forever. Nobody's being disrupted from taking their wife or their husband out and getting their champagne and having a good time. And we are all programmed when we wake up on New Year's morning, we're either hungover or tired from New Year's Eve, whatever it is, staying up late. If you're home and you wake up and your whole day starts early, you drink a Bloody Mary to get you back into, and you're watching games till the next morning and push the national championship game. Hell, they're going to get a week. That's okay. Give it. What's the big deal?
Absolutely.
They'll get 9 days. You move it to the next day, January 1st. They'll get 9 days. They're used to getting 7 days and 6 days. Play it on January 1, adjust times for the others, and leave the big boys back to back at night, and let's go. It makes zero sense to me. And it's like, oh gosh, because you know what? I've been to it where you're like at a party or with buddies, and people want to know where the TV is, and it takes away from. I don't know what they're trying to prove, that they think that college football is bigger than New Year's Eve. It's not. It is dumb. I'm programmed to watch football on January 1st.
Yes.
Let me watch football on January 1st with the big boys while everybody's over having a party at the house from the night before. They wake up the next day and we're eating and we're doing it again. That's college football. It's the way it's been forever, and it's the way it should be. I hate December 31st having those two games there.
Man, I wish you good luck on the finals. How many more finals do you have?
I got the last two classes of finals this week and one final big marketing paper that I'm doing my marketing paper where you develop a product, even though not develop, you kind of fake how you'd market the product. And I'm kind of working them hand in hand where One is I know we have the technology, how I'm going to market the camera in the middle linebacker and the quarterback's helmets during a game, so we get to see all the criticism. Now I'm going to take you inside, and I'm going to market this of what he sees. It's just another camera angle for the director. Yep. You cut to it whenever you want, right?
Right.
Mixed in with the built-in small chip. I know that supply chain can't get us chips for vehicles, but I'm gonna market the damn hell out of it anyway. In like the wristband where it's against the pressure point, what we have, Grant, you wear them on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I want to know what Tom Brady's heart rate is and what us mere mortals are, and the pulse rate in the fourth quarter compared to the first quarter. And I want to see it on the screen, that you cut down to it with all these brilliant geniuses in technology and say, here was Tom Brady in the first quarter of the Super Bowl. Here's his blood. He's down 28-3 against Atlanta. Now where's it? And I'll bet you his pulse rate's lower then than it was in the middle of the second quarter when everything was a little more normal. So I think you market them together. We get to see what they're going through. And you have the product where it's not bothering to stick it in the wristband where it's against the pressure point or somewhere, right? I'll find a way. And I started to write it out, but it'll be easy where we can get that, because I think they're both could be an easy reality, and it gives the fan another hell. Think about how you watch first downs, Grant. The yellow marker. You can't remember when they didn't have it anymore. Can you imagine the criticism, how it changes if you say, "Hey, buddy, you want to see what it's like? Sit your ass." And I know it's the GoPro. We don't want the big thing. Just a small little camera, like in our computer, and you can see what Brady goes through or the pressure they're under and how their heart rate is.
Put one of those on your fucking 80-pound dog too while you're at it.
Dude, that heart rate's and put it on me when he's running around. I'll get home and he takes a damn sprint down the hall to greet you, and he jumps up on all fours like a bucking bronco. It's like, come on, man. And I got the 10-pound dog that I'm not worried about the dog fighting back. I'm worried about his paw hitting the 10-pound dog's head. And when he jumped up on the bar, dude, it was priceless. He jumps up and lands all fours, and I'm like, it was like right out of a friggin' Marvel movie. I'm like, this dog's a freak show. So, I'll put it on him too, and I'll put it on anybody. You don't want to walk through the door and have him staring at you, because it gets you'll turn right around and say, "Man, Sean, I love you. I'm not walking by that dog." But he's nothing but a fun lover until I tell him to sick him, and then we'll go from there. But I think my projects will be fine, and then I get 6 weeks of no school, which I'm excited about for the rest of December. So I'm happy for you. Hey, good luck this week, buddy. We'll be rooting for you, and thanks, man. Love you. You're the best. Love you too, brother. I look forward to talking to you. Thanks. Yep. All right, see you.